As business owners, entrepreneurs, family men, it's difficult for us to find the time to put together projects like these. Even though it's something we really want to do, unfortunately, taking care of the things we have to take care of comes first. However, because of viewer support for people like you, we're able to continue doing this. Please consider joining our Patreon and supporting the Burn and Return podcast. You're listening to Burn and Return, a weekly 1-hour podcast covering news from the agricultural and turfgrass industries.
With the DJ Scratch, you know what that means. It means it is time for another episode of Burn and Return. What's going on, everybody? My name is Matt. Sometimes I go by the Grass Factor. My end, alongside me, we have Ryan DeMay and Ray Ito. Gentlemen, after Thursday with Paul Hurst, and man, what a 180 that was from the moment he thought he was walking into versus the realization of what he walked into. He was like, oh man, what the fuck? And let me be honest. I did introduce Ray as our local bomb expert. And it was really from that moment. I did mention Spencer, and his face was like, huh? And it took a while, but he came back, and I gotta say, all the conversations afterward too was like, man, I had no idea I was gonna have that much fun just sitting around talking to the turf people, and it was a lot of fun. And I honest to God, who I want to get on next? I really want to get on Dave Wilbur. I think it would be a lot of fun. One, because from a turf management standpoint, I mean, he does everything completely different than any of us do. Well, yeah, I would say a lot more different things than what we do. I wouldn't say everything's completely different, but his journey, I feel like he has a pretty wild ass journey through through his turf career. Including having done so much consulting work for the Trump brand, for example, right? And what his experience was like, being a turf consultant for the Trump whatever, building group or whatever. Anyway, I think that would actually be a pretty fun conversation to have. And he's definitely a dinosaur in the industry for sure. And especially given what he does now, I think it's a show of there's nothing about this industry that is easy, right? And sometimes you wake up one day and you're like, you know what, I need a fucking break. I need it at arm's length. Like, I can't get away from it. I get that 100%, but I need a what do they call it? I need healthy barriers at place, right? We need boundaries. And boy, did Dave Wilbur put up some boundaries between him and the turf industry. So anyway, I think it would be an interesting conversation. Nonetheless.
I'd be down to have Dave on.
I think it'd be fun.
Like you said, very well traveled, super knowledgeable in his approach. I think we've proven over the nearly 3 years of this program that we can talk to people from different walks of life and different approaches and things like that. And, I just hope I don't end up like my uncle and forget something.
I hear you on that. It runs in my family, by the way, to an extremely high degree.
Sorry, what'd
you say? Look, I am legitimately
it's a great
concerned.
day. It's a great pre-show. It's a great pre-show.
What's interesting is that I was really concerned about how the hereditary aspect of Alzheimer's works, and where we're going with this, and I'll skip all the details. But my mom's side of the family, 4 of the 8 men on her dad had Alzheimer's, and so it's a concern, right? And apparently, my mom is actually at low risk, and then I would have been too, based on how that typically goes down. But I can still get tested for the recessive gene to see if I am a carrier of it. I haven't. I don't know if I want to know. I probably should. And I know there's a lot of like lifestyle practices that you can engage in. I think Dr. Rhonda Patrick, everybody's come across her either on the Joe Rogan podcast or the various longevity studies that she's worked on. Former scientist at St. Jude, phenomenal, one of the world-renowned cancer researchers, and a longevity expert. And what sent her into overdrive was the realization that she is a carrier of the Alzheimer's gene, right? And when you're a ticking time bomb and you're smart enough, you try to become proactive about it. People like me, though, it's one of those that sometimes I prefer to live under a rock. I don't know. Not all the time. When it gets to be a problem that interrupts my day-to-day life, then I address it. But until then, but the thing is like once it's full-blown Alzheimer's, there's like no coming back from that. You know what I mean? You're coming back to it is like turning into a 4-year-old again. That's what coming back to it means, right? Like my granddad, asking about the dogs down at the corner, checking on them or whatever, and it being 1958 again. It's like, nah, dude. Now it's 2004. There are no dogs on the corner, and yeah, it's been real, grandpops. Rest in peace, Peppa Butt. He was a hell of a man and a great man. And anyway, I digress. John, how about we actually talk? Let's actually start the show here. And quit having these conversations before someone blows their brains out. Funny story about that. The other 4 forgot to
talk out of the way.
Let's check out this week's. What are we doing? This week's headlines. It's way too much inside baseball. Way too much.
Nothing to fear here. This is just the news.
Students in Watsonville protest the Jews. Oh, wait, sorry, I misread that. Students protest pesticide proposal in Watsonville. At a meeting at Ramsey Park Family Center in Watsonville on Monday, some residents offered pointed input on the California Department. I mean, all the universities are pointing at each other, and they're like, hey, they're all doing it. We might as well do it too, right? I mean, it's like it's a social contagion at this point. Some key parts of the draft. Okay, they want to ban pesticides, right? And this one actually is for La Supernova, who said the other day, no one would actually do that. No one's stupid enough to do that. Okay. Some key parts of the draft include more transparency about pesticide use, worker safety improvements, and development of sustainable pest management that tries to reduce reliance on pesticides. Admirable. Some critics, including 9 students from Watsonville and Greenfield High Schools, essentially said the plan was too vague and too slow to reduce health problems linked to pesticides. We need reform now because the children's are the ones that are suffering, said Anna Lopez, director of Santa Cruz County-based Center for Farm Worker Families at the meeting. Some children of farm workers in Santa Cruz and Monterey counties have developed asthma, learning disabilities, and cancer, Lopez said. If you could see the suffering of the parents as their kids are afflicted with these things, it is absolutely tragic, she said. State officials are collecting feedback on the plan through November 10th, including an online meeting on Friday, November 3rd. Many growers in Pajaro Valley rely on pesticides to prevent plant diseases, boost crop yields, and control weeds. On berry fields, gaseous pesticides known as fumigants are injected into the soil. Plastic tarps are usually used to prevent the gases from contaminating the air, although strong winds sometimes disrupt the tarps. In 2017, there were 76 reported illnesses from agricultural pesticide exposure from farm workers and pesticide applicators in Santa Cruz County. And from 2017 to 2022, pesticide use declined in part because of stricter Santa Cruz regulations that came that some conversions to organic operations. The pesticide regulation goals, they eliminate the use of priority pesticides by transitioning to sustainable pest management practices by 2050. Oh, it's aggressive. The sustainable pest managements are ecosystem-based, and you're trying to use the environment and timing of certain things to get a great overall outcome on the back end. 2050 goals allow growers to use pesticide only after monitoring indicates that they are needed, according to established guidelines. And treatments are made with the goal of removing only the target organism. Yeah, super easy to do. Towards the 2050 aims of pesticide regulation, Department draft strategic plan 2024 to 2028 lists 4 more goals, more than its 50 smaller goals. This is increased access to its safe, effective, and sustainable pest management. Increased access to safe, effective, and sustainable pest management. Are people hiding sustainable pest management out there? Is that the problem? Safe and effective pest management is it in a who's holding it hostage? Who's holding it hostage? Plans include increasing grant funding for research, creating a diverse advisory board to guide, prioritize, and implementing new practices, track, evaluate, and enforce pesticide use. Plans include improvements in data collection and tracking of pesticides in the air and water, increasing enforcement actions against repeat offenders, and introducing policies to regulate pesticide sales. Increased engagement, collaboration, and transparency with residents in agricultural areas. Plans include more outreach events, providing resources in multiple languages, and launching a statewide pesticide notification system. Increased collaboration with local, state, tribal, and federal agencies. Deadlines have not been set for any of the goals in the draft plan. It goes on. More input on the draft plan. People are weighing in on it. Some people hate it. Some people are in favor of it. Blah, blah, blah. If you want to get involved, here's how you can too. Thank you. Thank you for UC Santa Cruz here for getting out ahead of this. I'm not gonna lie, guys. It sounds like a whole bunch of noise without a whole lot of end goal brains as far as like how they want all this to work out. Right? It's like
it sounds
we
like
got a lot of buzzwords. We're gonna densify these buzzwords. Yeah, and then we're gonna set something really wild like 2050.
Well, and you know what my question always is in cases like this? Who the hell came first? The farms or the people living there? You know, that's always my question. Because California, watch out, because I've seen this kind of activism play out right here in Hawaii. And guess what happened when this activism won over? Agriculture went, aloha. And guys, seriously, I don't think Disneyland and SeaWorld pull in enough money to support the entire state. So these people had better be careful about what they wish for.
Well, especially in California. I mean, agriculture is a massive industry in the state, right? And I think there's some interesting things in here, some little nuggets first, on a micro level. They talked about resistant varieties, in this basically ecosystem management, right?
But that's pie in the sky, right? Yeah, that means GMOs, but
are these people going to be okay with that?
No, probably not. But then anytime I hear about resistant varieties, to date, there has never been a quote-unquote resistant variety that has been completely effective. It has only been a partial success, and the other factor when dealing with crops is that you have multiple pest issues and pest pressures. Just because you address one pest, that doesn't mean that you're all good from planting time until harvest. And you know what would be really educational for these people? Is if all of them were to go ahead and try and grow out a 500 or 1,000 square foot vegetable garden from beginning to end. See what they deal with. See what happens. I mean, that would...
Go ahead.
I think that would kind of make them a little more, give them a perspective. Because right now,
academia and perspective. Are you kidding? That is that is the antithesis of what academia produces is perspective. I'll die on this
I
hill,
know.
by the way.
I know.
Clearly, I'll die on this hill.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
dying as we speak.
No, perspective is something that you're right, Matt. They have no perspective, and I have a interesting anecdote about these people in academia. One of my friends in the nursery business told me about an intern that she hired. Okay. And this intern proceeded to tell her about how his experiment failed. And the reason why his experiment failed is because he failed to provide water to his test subjects. So you see,
sounds like communist China forgetting to provide food to their population. I think the same happened in Russia.
Well, the same issue is that academia tends to develop what I call tunnel vision. They only see one thing out of a very large picture. And these days, that one thing is not focused on enhancing or improving production. Their objective is this lofty goal of eliminating pesticides.
Yeah, I mean, and that's obviously what's happening here. They're going to make a bunch of noise until someone who's an actual mover and shaker can come in and get that accomplished. What were you going to say, Ryan?
No, all I was going to say was that, this kind of mimics a little bit of what's going on in Europe, right? That we've talked about on this show previously, and sort of the back and forth, but there's no real clear vision or goal of how to get there and things like that. And obviously they're a little further down the path there in Europe. But I also think too that this is a litmus test for, some of the things that might take place at a national level, depending on how things go in the future, right? So I think this approach or something similar is where we're headed, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, at least at a state level, especially in a state like California.
Next we have Nutrient misses quarterly profit estimates by a lot. Hang on. There's two sides to every coin. Everybody can point at Nutrient and say they're always the bad guy. But if we recall, there was a huge potash shortage because we placed sanctions on Belarus and Russia, who are two major potash producers. And meanwhile, at the same time, Nutrien was then called to ramp up production, and so they guaranteed to allocate X number of millions of dollars. I believe it was in the 8-figure category that they pledged to put up. And actually, from what I can tell on their 8K, they actually have started spending that money, and then the sanctions on Belarus and Russia were lifted. And what happened to potash prices? Nutrient starts spending money to ramp up production. And, well, we're like, fuck it. We'll just send in some vessels from Russia and Belarus. Certainly that won't go towards trying to beat the shit out of Ukraine or whatever weirdness is going on over there. And sure enough, potash prices absolutely plummeted. So from $633 to $250 a ton. Now it's going to be hard to find potash at $250 a ton because people are holding inventory from much higher than that. But we will see it go. The crazy thing is that potash volume increased significantly, 23% up on sales. However, when your price falls over 50%, it's hard to make up that difference there. So yeah, we can all point at Nutrien and say they're the bad guy. Now I was the first to say, yeah, okay, I'll believe it when I see it, when Nutrien spends money to scale up their production. And sure enough, they actually did. Then they had a big outage out of one of their urea plants this last quarter, and then a second one is going down for a planned maintenance. So they're going to miss their urea forecast by pretty significantly too. So their guidance didn't look too good. And year to date, they're down roughly 23% on their value on the year. So losing a quarter of fucking of market share there is that's always a good feeling, right? But maybe there's more upside to be had. I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it at this point. Put it this way, I'm not going to be buying a bunch of leap calls on Nutrien right now. Now, that's also going to play into this next one here, where we have Minnesota's burgeoning fertilizer problem. Minnesota's water supply continues to be contaminated by fertilizer due to lackluster regulations and climate change. We were just talking about the framework for regulations, and then I think we're also seeing this in Russia. Now let's see what we can figure out with Minnesota here. We need to set a goal of decreasing nitrogen contamination in surface water by 45% by 2040. If it follows existing fertilizer regulations, however, we will reduce surface water contamination by just 15%. So they are forecasting the current regulations will only drop to 15%, but we need to get to 40. We need to 3x what we're currently doing, right? So anyway, I am really, really interested to see what kind of aggressive plans they have for this that does not include restricting nitrogen usage in a big way, right? Now, again, the number one contributor to fertilizer in water isn't rain that is pushing it. It's erosion, right? Erosion, washing away soil into it. And there's some good things that can be done. Cover cropping can do it, but ultimately that affects profitability of the field. Sometimes it's effective, not all the time. That's some of the newer regenerative ag promises that we've been seeing, not checking out to be true 100% of the time. I highly recommend you go read Andrew McGuire over on Twitter or X, whatever it is, at Andrew McGuire, who really dives balls deep into this. He is like the Travis Shaddix of the ag world, right? And one of my all-time absolute favorites to read. Sign up for his blog. It's just jam-packed with information that people need to know. And so it's easier to look at something like this and say, that's great, that sounds awesome, but is it going to lead to another inflationary exercise of futility? Time's right? Up, it's over. We can't guarantee it's going to get us there, but we're going to try these things, and it's going to drive up the cost of food by 3x, right? Our crop cost is going to go up by 3x, and we might reduce fertilizer in groundwater. I mean, do you see the problem there, right? Again, in my opinion, it sounds a whole lot more of like, okay, we got till 2040. We're going to just kind of, Is there anything that I'm missing out of here other than tillage and cover cropping that is going to get us there? Or is it going to be one of those things that we try it, we don't get the results that we expect, like in every other fucking time we've done this, and then it's going to turn into, well, we're going to limit you to a 200 bushel an acre crop based on, the 100 pounds per acre of nitrogen that you're allowed to apply now?
I think that's, if you dive in and see where the other side is going from a research aspect, you'll see that limits, bans, things like that are what seems to be the low-hanging fruit from a policy initiative standpoint, and that's an easy way for those voices on the other side to be placated, right? Well, hey, if you ban it, everything's fine. You're not getting to the crux of the issue, though, right? The crux of the issue is educating people, i.e., farmers, nutrient users, things like that, on how to do it, when to do it, the 4 R's, right? And getting better at that aspect of it. And also at the same time, trying to, come up with plants that are more efficient at using the amount that they're given. So, again, anytime that you ban something, right? I think in every single case, nobody understands what they're giving up on the other side of that. And that's where we're going to have major, major, major problems downstream. And it won't take long to figure out. Ray will tell you, right, Ray?
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's very easy to propose bans, restrictions, increased oversight, bureaucratic harassment. However, what is the downside? I mean, California prides itself on supplying a lot of agricultural production. Minnesota, my understanding is that a lot of wheat production happens in Minnesota, corn production, soy production. Now, what happens when the parties involved say, hell with this, we're moving production to South America or Africa. Hell with this already, And there's precedent for growers doing that. And you know who loses when that happens? The states where agricultural production has left. The people lose. Because I can tell you right now, when agriculture leaves a state en masse, it is a sad situation. And
Mahalo.
Yeah, mahalo, aloha, as I always like to say, and it's not aloha hello, it's aloha goodbye.
Look, in this they talk about how planting perennial grasses or like rye, perennial rye or something will reduce nitrogen runoff by 70%. So they have 100% compliance on buffer zones right now. That's the other piece of it that they're trying to get 100% compliance on. Again, what they're saying, the claim is up to 70%, right? So again, look, they get 100% compliance on this. Then what happens, right? They're only projecting right now 15% improvement. They're trying to get to 45, right? And okay, so perennial grasses, this 70% runoff issues is gonna get them to 45% by 2040. What if it doesn't? Okay. What if it gets it to 30, but you still need another 50%? What are they going to do? And you can't tell me. I mean, it is so obvious to see where this is going to go. I mean, look at Europe. Look at Europe. Look at Norway. Look at Ireland or the Netherlands. Yeah. It all pans out the exact same way. It's like, okay, you keep saying it's as simple as this, but now all of a sudden I have to give up half my cattle. Okay.
Mhm.
Now you have to give up 50% of your urea purchases or anhydrous ammonia purchases. It's obvious where this is going. So I don't know. I hope that magically we can figure out something, right? Or maybe there is a magic drainage system that exists out there that hasn't been discovered yet that can be installed for $10 an acre to solve all these woes. And then we're good to go. But again, I think it's pretty obvious to see where we're headed with this. Good news there in the headlines, man, makes me feel real good. This show is brought to you by, you know who it's brought to you by? It's brought to you by us, gosh damn it. Just kidding. It's actually brought to us by you, by all the listeners out there. Again, we are not able to do this without y'all. And that goes for the Thirsty Thursdays and especially this show. It is so much of this that allows us to do that, everything we do. A couple of key highlights, right? We had another meetup in Louisville this year, and it was unreal. Emotionally, it's unreal. Physically, it's unreal. Spiritually, it's unreal. And every time, I will say that this is the first time in my life I ever was allowed to feel myself, to allow myself to feel proud, right? And it was such an interesting experience to go in it that way. To have a little chip on my shoulder and be proud of everything that this has, all the opportunities that have been afforded to us because of this, and ultimately that's because of y'all. And so I want to say thank you first and foremost. And if you take anything of value of what we talk about and you are of the means, patreon.com/Better Return. Everything we make on this, we pour back into it. Shout out to our new scholarship winner this year. Last year, it was Aldo, who has made not just one hell of a splash into getting his turf credentials. I mean, he's been smoking it with straight A's the entire time, and absolutely busting his fucking balls at it too. And then this year we got the kid. We got Jason coming in, and in the breath of fresh air he's bringing, because like we heard from Paul Hurst last week, turf managers are of the next generation, are a dying breed, right? And so there's just going to be this huge generational gap of like dudes in their late 50s to like dudes in their 30s, right? And it's not going from 60s to 50s to 40s to 30s. It's a big ass gap, and 50%. I think it's over the next 3 years, 50% of the green industry is going to be retired, right? So there will be a gigantic breadth of young breadth, and for us to try and have some humor that goes into that, and hopefully some words of wisdom for the younger people that are out there, because the weird thing is that like in a few short years, we are going to be the old ones that are active in the industry. And the crazy thing is that we've got, I mean, I'm almost 40, DeMay is 40, and Ray is 50. And then we will be the dinosaurs. And it's fucking weird to think about it that way, but that's how much of a gap that we're going to see in this industry. And so if we can pass along the things that we were taught by the actual dinosaurs now that have to have healthy boundaries with the industry, rightfully deserved, and pass along with love the things that were physically beat into us, and pay that forward in a little bit less physical way, with a little bit more to be a little bit more in tune with the younger generation. And I think we're able to accomplish that with an online presence. We're glad to be able to do that. So again, all of that comes from you. We raised, I mean, all said and done, it was something like $13,000 for St. Jude this year. I mean, it's a fucking astronomical number that we did. And again, that was all because of y'all. That was not something we split. That went 100% to St. Jude. Shout out to Ryan for organizing that. And we did it as part of the Travis Feltner Fund, because someone that we were actually live on air arguing with, DeMay is such a crafty bastard, not the beer, but an actual crafty bastard at turning a strife into a positive. He was like, you know what? Let's do this in such a way that the people who need to win actually win, right? And because we are certainly the losers up here, and without a doubt, Travis is also a loser. So we passed the baton of winning to the people who deserve it most, and those are the people, both workers and recipients at St. Jude, who rely on that. And man, that to this day, I was just talking to Jay Pink about this on Saturday, and he was, he's like, what do you want to do for this next year? And I was like, fucking St. Jude, 100%. I get emails every week now. Every week I get an email from St. Jude, and it's funny because prior to donating money to St. Jude, you always get the non-success stories from St. Jude, right? And now that we have donated to St. Jude, I get the weekly success stories from St. Jude. I don't cry any less. They're very gut-wrenching, very, very heartwarming. But I forget about that, right? Because I always think, a trip to St. Jude is terminal, and that's the end of the road. But for a shit ton of people, that's the beginning of that is an opportunity for another chance at life, an actual miraculous second chance at life, or third chance, or fourth chance at life, because they literally brush death so many times while there, and the magic hands that exist there are able to pull them back. And again, we were able to do that because of everyone that listens to us. And I think that's a testament to the quality of people that are out there. We're just the assholes up here that run our fucking yapper. And y'all are the people who put your money where your mouth is. And so, again, all of this is able to happen because of y'all. And we are so very appreciative. And as we wind down to the end of the year here, we'll, of course, have an end of the year recap where we will highlight not just us being the assholes, but we will also honor the biggest assholes of assholes, because it's funny, because it's absolutely funny. And we will do so with the intentions of, for as many people that we make angry, we hope to help as equal, many of children that are suffering in an unbearable way, and their families that suffered in an unbearable way, because we're assholes, we're not scumbags. Anyway, there we go with that. Let's check out this week's. Let's keep it going with this week's Joe Knows Turf.
Joe Knows Turf. Hi, I'm Joe. I'm gonna give you a bunch of accurate turf facts today because Joe knows turf.
Joe does know turf, DeMay. Who do we have the pleasure of witnessing their crafty teaching bastard skills of the week?
Well, we're going to dive in here. We had our live show in Louisville, and we asked the folks that came, hey, what do you want to hear us talk about a little bit more? And, we don't get too much into pricing per se, or we don't get too much into, except for our very, very early shows. If you go back to the spring of 2021, we first started doing this. So I thought it might be helpful, as we were talking to Paul on the show the other day about the young kids or, people that are just starting out in the industry, regardless of their age, and what they should be thinking about, how they should be going about things. So I wanted to highlight a couple things here. One was the program, and we'll break this down here in a second and talk a little bit about it and just try to, kind of go back to our roots of, getting started and some of the other, getting started both in the industry, but also getting started with each other and talking through this and some of the differences and similarities we had towards building lawn care programs. And then I also want to share with you some of the comments because some of this shit is reprehensible. It's pretty bad. So, knowing where to go to get advice and not necessarily just going on Facebook and posting as an anonymous member. So I'll read this for the audio.
Real quick, DeMay, will you send a copy of that and put it in our group chat real quick?
Yeah, let me see if I.
This is what happens when we do this live. This is the.
Let me see if I can do this here real quick.
Don't let anybody tell us that we don't. Oh, look!
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
We will do it live. Bill always brings us together. Okay.
It never gets old.
No, it will never get old. You can't fake that kind of rage. All right, so anonymous member
so good.
Wrote in. This is the turf and ornamental applicators, professional applicators group, TOPA, on Facebook.
Yeah,
again, no disrespect.
Put quotes around professional there.
It's something.
They're
paid money.
I'm a member of this
things
group
happen.
too.
We'll just say that.
There are some bright people in here.
So
I see Nate Element over here. One of my favorites, actually. One of my great friends.
A nasty Nate. He does come from the top rope here. All right, so
he does.
Anonymous member says, I've been looking at different chemicals and pricing, and I think I have it down to what I want to do. Looking for some feedback on this. This is for cool season grass located in the north part of Central Ohio, so pretty close to me. And I'm pretty sure that this gentleman went on here and he posted some other things earlier in the month. Like one of them was he called up like True Green and like a couple other local people and just had them price different yards and see where he fit. And I don't know that
I understand.
It's nice to know it's your competition. I get it, but same time, like run your numbers, know your numbers. All right.
Yes, you can't use that to drive your price list. You can drive it to help influence, like, okay, if they're there, in order for me to sell at that price, my cost of goods need to be at X in order for me to sell at Y price, right? So maybe you can make that adjustment, but you can't look at it and be like, shit, how am I going to make my cost of $2.26 1,000 profitable when I'm selling it for $3 1,000 square foot? Like, you can't. No matter how you do it, you can't make it work. How does True Green do it? Because they're not applying at $2.26 per 1,000 square feet. They're not.
Not happening. Yeah.
It's completely different buying power. It's a completely different market, right? So you can't sell on that. Okay. So let's run through this here. We've got a 6-round program here, ladies and gentlemen. So for those of you following along on audio, we're looking at a nice little spreadsheet that talks about each round, the cost per 1,000 per each round, which products they're going out with, the rates, and all that. Okay, so let's dive in here, and I'm just going to read these off first, and then we can walk back through it. Okay, so round one, we've got a 1203 with 0.37% prodiamine and 50% regain. And regain, for those of you scoring at home, I believe is isn't that a is that a polycoat?
A denitrification inhibitor.
It's a DNA. Oh, okay. So
Stabilized nitrogen.
that's going out
then.
at 4 pounds.
Okay.
Stabilized.
Just 50% though.
There we go. Just 50, just a little tickle, especially going out in round one. So 4 pounds. You're going out a half pound here of N basically, and kick it in the ass here with some prodiamine. Okay.
And
Now,
just
coming back,
to give you a
round
heads
two.
up, that works out to $19.25 a bag for that 1203.
Okay. All right. I like where your head's at on that. Okay, so then round two, we've got liquid and granular going out. We've got 1800 with 0.125% dimension and 25% all N, which I believe all N is another nitrification inhibitor. Vessel at
$22
1.5
bag.
fluid ounces per thousand. Triclopyr at 0.2 ounces per 1,000 square foot. So 8.8. Oof. So that's a tickle of triclopyr. And some LV spray
0.2?
enhancer. So
What the hell
Yeah,
is 0.2
it's
an
low.
acre? 0.2 times
it's
43.5.
8.8. 8.8.
9 ounces, 1,000, 8.8. Oh my God!
That's slow. It's a little low.
Don't do that.
Even with the
Don't do that.
the vessel,
Yeah,
I believe is 3-way. So okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Round three. This is all liquid here. So MC 4600 Ultra N. So spraying urea essentially. If it's less than 85, it's noted here in the notes at somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 pound per 1,000. Armament, which is a foliar pack product, long chain carbon, supposed to unlock nutrients, bunch of other stuff.
Oh boy.
Microsync, which is basically a micronutrient package, and then grub control, which isn't listed here. I'm assuming that we're spraying merit. Maybe.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Okay.
Listed at
Possibly.
0.36 or 36 cents per 36 cents per 1,000. I'm sorry. Okay, round four. Same thing with the all liquid approach here. Liquid N 4600 with Ultra N, and then he's going at 3/4 pound per 1,000. Armament Microsync Vessel. So again, we're going out with weed control here in round four with the 3-way and the triclopyr at that like 8.8 per ounce per acre rate, and then the LV spray enhancer. Okay, that one's really throwing me for a loop on that one. Okay, round five, spraying another 3/4 pound of urea, 3/4 pound of N. Is he saying 3/4 pound of N here? I'm assuming that's what he means.
Wow, that's $28 a bag. $28.33
Armament
for the Ultra N.
Microsync, and then spot spraying his 3-way in round five. Is he saying he's putting down 3/4 pound per 1,000 of fertilizer or N?
It has to be
It's
N.
gotta be
Otherwise,
N.
it works out to $56 a bag.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you label your units, folks. I'd mark him off.
Yeah,
I was great in
yeah.
this
And
test.
surely
Okay.
he's not paying $56 a bag for that.
Lastly, this is Advanced Turf 3404 all mineral, 3 pounds a 1,000, so a little over 1,000 or about a pound per 1,000 here on our. See that one he lists as fertilizer and not as. That's what's screwing me up. And the top one he lists as fertilizer. Top two.
Mhm.
Maybe he is paying
Okay,
53
so
bucks a
that
bag.
is 19. Man, you no way. You think so? That one's $19.50 a bag. All quick release.
I don't know. All right, so
If anyone
let's run
buys
this
from
down here.
ATS, call and get a price for us on 4600 Ultra N, please. MC Ultra N 4600. Get a surprise.
I'll work on that for you tomorrow. Okay. So where are we at? Let's start with the pre-emergent game here, gentlemen. Where are we at on the pre-emergent of mixing and matching dimension per diamine right out of the gate and essentially
No.
going
Why?
full rate?
No.
No.
No. No.
Done. End
No.
of story. Done.
No.
No. I've bitched about this. I don't know how many times. It drives me nuts. This is my biggest pet peeve in the entire world. Stop doing prodiamine followed by dimension. I don't care what logic you want to apply to do it. I get it. You can logically make sense of it, but they do not compound. They are not synergistic in that way. Prodiamine plus dimension does not. It is not an equal additive. It doesn't work. Either run prodiamine followed by prodiamine or dimension followed by dimension. They're not combos in that way.
And furthermore, you know, when you apply dimension as your second round, you're literally inviting crabgrass and goosegrass breakthrough later in your season because dimension doesn't last as long and you only put down half the prodiamine that you need to actually prevent that. So, and also
Fair points.
dimension is dimension is expensive. And so the only time I would apply dimension is if I had to pick up or catch early season crabgrass that has already emerged, but when I'm doing that, I'm spraying my dimension. I'm not ordering it on top of fertilizer. So this is just, how shall I say, $1.76 too much. He should have just thrown down another round.
Yeah, I was going to say
round
dimension,
of his prodiamine. Yeah.
If you pick up a new customer, and it's round 2, right? And
Time's up.
they
It's
did not
over.
get a round 1. They had no previous application of prodiamine. 100%. High rate of sprayed dimension makes sense in that situation as a catch me up, right? But again, not as a start with prodiamine followed by dimension. That it sounds good, but there's enough efficacy data out there to show they're not synergistic in that way. It ain't doing it for you.
Yeah.
All right,
Because
let's move on. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Keep on going. Keep on going because
now let's look.
I also got to add
post-emergent broadleaf control. Go ahead and ask your question, Ray.
Okay. I also have questions about that ultra low rate of triclopyr because usually when I do triclopyr, I'm putting down minimum 16 ounces of the triclopyr 4E per acre, minimum.
Yes.
And if I have a problem like, say, clover, I'm throwing in the full 32 ounce with whatever 2,4-D based herbicide I'm applying. I'm not going quarter rate, not for that. I mean, you're asking for weeds.
Who came up with
100%
that
agree with
8 ounces an acre?
We'll talk about that in a minute here. We haven't even got to the comments yet, and they're spicy. Okay.
Yeah, I'm off on that.
The armament and microsync thing, take it or leave it. It's
That's
their
a secret
approach.
sauce.
It's
I'm not going to
ATS's
judge him
approach.
on it. It's what he wants.
Whatever.
The only thing that concerns me
whatever.
about the Ultra N, the sprayable N, is he's using LV Spray Enhancer. And LV Spray Enhancer is a product that's formulated by Precision Labs that's meant to be used in ride-on sprayers that are spraying at like, a quarter to a half a gallon per thousand, right, as a carrier volume. Well, what if I told you quarter to a half a gallon carrier volume, and I'm putting out legitimately 3/4 of a pound of N with urea? How would you feel about that?
I would feel like you have a 99.999999999 chance of tip burn, or worse.
Okay. Actually,
like
I'm looking
tip
I'm
burn
looking
like
at that
cauterizing your piss hole with a red hot poker. like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
Yes.
the round for tank nicks, and this is begging to scorch the heck out of the grass. You know, this is looking to really scorch the grass because you know how I feel about surfactants and liquid nitrogen, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know how I feel about that. I mean, because, and especially when
Well, then
I'm
add
pushing,
vessel and tricopyr on top of it, and armament and microsync, which, if I recall, is microsync a amino acid base?
I think so. I think it's
you
an
said armament?
amino acid.
No,
Armament?
microsync.
Acetate.
Microsync.
microsync.
Microsync. Yeah, what?
Does it
What
contain
the heck is
amino acids? Yes, it does. It does contain amino acids. Again, from experience here, you start mixing in with amino acids with herbicides, some shit can start happening, man. I'm telling you, some shit can start happening. Then you add your LV spray enhancer on top of it. This guy is cruising for a bruising that he didn't vie for.
All right.
He's not
Let's
planning
dive
on
into the
this, is he?
Well, okay. So, Corey wants to know why hardly any potassium and no phosphorus. You should be putting down 2 pounds of potassium a year and 1 pound of phosphorus. I'd include lime unless you're in a region that's not naturally acidic. Central Ohio is not naturally acidic; it's naturally alkaline.
Yeah. Thanks,
So
Corey.
anonymous member says, from what I've been told, I found lime is generally not needed. And he says that the armament is 9% potash, which it is. It's
armament that we're
potassium
applying
acetate based.
at,
It's not. But
at
at whatever
0.2
it is.
ounces
5
per thousand.
2 ounces. 2 ounces.
Yep.
per thousand. Yep.
Oh,
So
okay.
anyway,
A snort of potash. That is so little potash. I don't even think you can log that as contributing to a fucking potash application.
Wow.
Let me look this up. As a matter of fact, let's do math. I can make that claim, right? But if I'm going to make that claim, I might as well back it up with actual valid data. Let's look it up here. Okay. Armament concentrate is 9%. It weighs 10.59 pounds per gallon. Okay. 10.59 times 0.09 is that is a pound of potassium per gallon, right? So that would mean there are 64 doses at 2 ounces. So that is 0.015 pounds of potash going down with each application. 0.015 pounds, 0.01 pounds of potash. And we're doing that how many times? 3 amps for the year? 4 ounces? 4 amps. So we're doing 0.045 pounds of potash for the year. That is a real mathematical figure there.
in the form of potassium acetate.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Lovely.
Get more in the soil. So anyway, there's some discussion here about Central Ohio. Somebody else jumps in here and talks about the original poster says, I just found out that when doing liquid, you mix the urea in different amounts to get the nitrogen level lower.
What?
Probably a good time
No
to
way,
pump the
man.
brakes here.
No way, dude.
Yeah.
So
What? No way.
it's pretty
And look, I'm not knocking this guy for not including potash in his program. He may not need it. Okay, and that's fine. Not saying he needs to include it, but the guy just learned that you can have different dilution ratios of urea when dissolved in water. Guys, that is not
my.
okay.
Oh my.
Nasty Nate is answering a shoe. P. Diddy is answering a shoe, asking who this.
Yeah. not good. Gentlemen, that's where I'm going to leave this Joe Knows Turf, is because what I'm saying is there's a better way to building programs. I think I linked our show on the 6-app program with Lushy and told him to go look at that first. Not that we're the end all be all, but we've got a good start as far as that goes. So I'll leave it there.
Man.
But yeah.
Wow.
Hey, anonymous guy, if you want to come on and even remain anonymous, we will protect your anonymity. Swear to Christ. And we will help you however we can. It doesn't cost anything. But if you are at the position that you just learned that there is a different concentration that you can apply urea based on how you dilute it and the rate you dissolve in water, man, we can start at the most basic of levels with real simple 7th grade algebraic math and help you understand that and actually be able to visualize what that looks like and what that does. And at least help you get that out of the way, because and I say this with love, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I really do mean this in a loving way. As you sit right now, you are way more of a danger than you are as an asset as a business owner. You are a legitimate danger to the industry. And you don't have to be. And we will legitimately help you at no cost. Nothing. For the good of the industry, we will do that for you. Please, God, man, please. If anybody knows who that dude is, link him when this episode goes live and tell him to reach out to us, because we can't. I can't let that just go to the wayside at all. That is not good.
No. Bad.
My
this is
God,
very
man.
bad.
And then maybe we can get Ben Potts on to talk about some of the claims he made on armament there. I'd love to see that as well, too. I think that'd be fun. All right. Thanks for that, DeMay. I'm not going to sleep tonight, so we might as well just cover this week's birds. Hiya, it is. Lord have mercy. Coming right out of the gates here, guess what we found in Connecticut? Oh boy, had him a little clandestine psilocybin mushroom growing operation in a private home in Burlington, out of Connecticut. Growing about 8.5 million pounds of shrooms. We typically don't talk too much about drugs on this. However, he is growing fungi, and as we all know, everybody gets a little weirded out when fungus is among us. And but I think what's more impressive is the picture of just how many mushrooms this guy had growing in his house. I kid you not.
Jeez.
I have never in my life seen anything at this scale done by, I'm sure, some long-haired 24-year-old hippie kid. My God. I mean, this is a legitimate vertical farm he had going here. And the fact that he was able to maintain the kind of sterility it takes to produce mushrooms at this scale is at
Goodness.
Oh, man.
You're right.
This guy is a wizard. He is an absolute
long-haired
wizard.
stoner kid. You are right,
Yeah.
Matt. Long-haired stoner kid.
God
Jesus
almighty,
Christ.
boy. Look at the equipment he's got in there. I am so impressed. I'll tell you, though, the sad thing about this, and this absolutely chaps my ass, is that some prosecutor out there is going to want to give this kid life for clearly being able to do something that 99.9% of the population could not achieve, even if they knew how to do it. If they didn't give a shit about the law and were able to do that, they couldn't do that. This kid is clearly skilled as hell. I mean, out of control skilled. And here he is. I have no idea what he's facing, but there's some prosecutor that just wants to absolutely hammer him for it. And I could not. A 21-year-old dude? A 21-year-old dude? Lord have mercy. God almighty. Oh, man. Oh, I hope they do not ruin this kid's life. Get him out of jail. Monterey Mushroom called this kid and have him take over your operation. This guy is a wizard. He does not deserve to be in jail. He needs to be in a private business, in a modern mushroom growing factory. And I guarantee you, he could increase your output by 10x. He's growing that much out of a fucking house. This guy is nuts. He is nuts. He probably supplies 90% of the United States with his output there. This guy is incredible. That's right. He should call you, Jesse. I know I would. I don't have the skill that this kid did.
Is he in the?
He does Fed
bar, Jesse Bousquet.
Oh, this is going Fed, baby, and he is a Fed criminal defense attorney. Man, I'm not gonna lie. I'm impressed. That's why I had to throw it in there. And I sure as shit hope that kid. Hey, like all right, you committed a crime, but man, seriously, give that kid a slap on the wrist, and some grower out there, get this guy on payroll and learn something from him, because I guarantee you, if you put his brain into good use, he will make you a shit ton of money in the private sector. Horrible. In Ohio, man nearly drowns in a freak lawn mowing accident and is now in critical condition. He was flown to the hospital after a lawnmower he was riding flipped into a pond, trapping him underneath. Gentlemen, keep your fucking roll bars up if you mow professionally. This is a true story. I was mowing a surround in a Toro Sidewinder and being lazy and sliding my deck down towards the pond. And it's 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, and my rear, because those things have, it's the 3-wheeler, right? And my rear wheel slid into the pond. And when it did, and I was trying to get myself out, it rolled. And if I did not, this Toro Sidewinder has a steering wheel, right? It's not, zero turn arm bars. It has a steering wheel, and it rides up in the air. And man, when I was on my back in the water, and I'm looking at the angle of this, and thank Christ for the roll bar, because that steering wheel would have pinned me in about 12 inches of water and drowned my ass 100%. And here, this guy got trapped. He may not have had a roll bar, but let this be your lesson. I know they're annoying. I know they hit tree branches when you go underneath them, but for Christ's sake, man, they are there to save your life. Use it. Do not die like this. Please, God, do not die like this. I hope this guy recovers sooner than later. Oh, man, it makes me sick to my stomach. The last one here. Well, we talked about Nutrien. We might as well get Mosaic in here too, right? Mosaic, New Wales Gypstack Fertilizer Company suffered a liner tear. Could be the latest of several incidents in recent years at Mosaic's Polk County plant. There's another possible tear in the liner beneath a pile of Mosaic's mildly radioactive phosphate waste at its plant. I love mildly radioactive. It's got a little rate on it, if I recall correctly. If confirmed, it would mark at least the third problem since 2016 at the company's phosphate fertilizer manufacturing facility in Polk County. Data from Mosaic's New Wales facility showed a change in water pressure at its active south gypsum stack, a sign there may be a tear in the lining, which could result in the indeterminate volume of processed water released in the environment. When a liner tears, water can mix with the phosphate waste called phosphogypsum and seep into groundwater underneath the gypstack. That can cause caverns or sinkholes to open up beneath the tear. Rainfall and processed water is usually stored in ponds on top of active gypsum stacks. State environment regulators told the Tampa Bay Times there's no processed water above the area of this possible tear. If a tear is confirmed, it's located in an area where a recovery well could capture and contain any release to prevent it from polluting into the underground. Even with no processed water above the phosphogypsum, pollutants could still be released from below, environmental advocates fear. Still, an inspection report from Saturday shows a possible tear was deemed by the company a critical condition event, which means it is a written report of the problem and the company's plan to fix it needs to be submitted to the state within a week. Mosaic intends to begin drilling to investigate this week, according to the incident report. The development is just one of many at this same facility. There was a sinkhole stretching 152 feet that opened beneath the New Wales gypstack, resulting in 215 million gallons of contaminated water draining into the aquifer below. It also wouldn't be the first time that a protective liner was torn. I'd acknowledge the liner tear resulted in a 300-foot cavity at the gypstack recently as March of last year. The confirmation wasn't made public by the state or the company until months after the incident. The liner tear last year was in the eastern section of the gypstack. This potential tear is in the northwest part, according to the state environment regulators. Anyway, there's been a history of failures of this. It freaks everybody out. Everybody's, Mosaic says we care about transparency, and I guess now they do. Not then, but now we do. We learned our lesson then. Now we care about transparency. Man, I don't know enough about this, but what I do know is that there is a concerted effort right now to repurpose, and they're studying really well how to repurpose the phosphogypsum into roads, right? So they would homogenize it with a tar and pave it into roads. And once cross-linked with tar, it actually stabilizes what I believe is radioactive radon, and will keep it from becoming a problem because the tar actually holds it in place very, very effectively. Because radon mainly exists as the old what are those free floaters called, Ray? Why has radon moved from lower ground to higher ground so well?
It's because radon is a gas, and radon is the gas emitted by small amounts of radium. However, if you do have these radionuclide type materials, the safest thing to do with them is not to leave them in loose piles where they can become dust or leach into groundwater. And this is why I'm not hopping up and down and saying, don't mix this with asphalt and turn it into road, because I know quite well that, when it is stabilized with that asphalt, then at least you know where it's at, and it's in a form that is less likely to move versus having it in piles all over the state of Florida like this. Because this is a
got to
ticking
do
time
something
bomb.
about it. Yeah, and I don't understand why continue to use the liners. Like, okay, if you're seeing repeated failures,
there's probably
time to reevaluate.
There's probably no real other way to deal with it, and this is why I think it's a bad idea to make this Mosaic company stockpile and store this material without anywhere for it to go. I think it's bad.
When I think of liners, I don't think of sun as being good, and there's nothing that Florida runs low on in the sun department. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a redneck in Tennessee. Let's check out this week's returns. La 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 la.
I'm back.
We have a wonderful article here of questions you need to ask your lawn maintenance company by Emily Camerlore. Just in case, let's check her out and see what her credentials are. She has a degree in English and Classics from Mount Holyoke College, a liberal arts education that enables her to research deeply and write about a variety of topics. Her expertise is in first-time home buying, mortgage options, and DIY home maintenance. Well, she's crafted a finely written article by ChatGPT here that reads, asking the right questions is essential when working with a lawn maintenance company. Doing so helps you avoid scams, keep your yard healthy, stay happy with the service you receive. But knowing what to ask can be tricky. You need to ask about licenses, insurance, references, and the company's history to make sure the people you're doing business with are actually legitimate people. You can weed out scammers this way if you didn't know. Number one, how long have you been in business? You might prefer to work with someone with plenty of experience. You also might prefer to work with a neighborhood kid. But it's important that you get this understood early. Are you licensed and insured for a lawn maintenance service? Can you provide any references? Do you provide organic or environmentally friendly lawn care options? Are your basic services on a one-time, monthly, or yearly contract basis? Can you handle pest and weed control as part of your services? If you're currently experiencing the latter and would like to add more services, speak to our lawn company about what options are available. They may have a larger skill set available to you for a small increase in cost. Proper yard care takes a lot of planning, so okay, just curious what that would say. How do you prefer to be paid? What types of grass and plants are you experiencing maintaining? How do you communicate with clients? What do I do if I have a complaint? What's your policy on rescheduling or canceling appointments due to weather conditions? Can you provide a written estimate or contract outlining the scope of services, costs, and terms? How do you handle unexpected issues like drought or lawn disease? And That's it. Man, I learned a lot in this. This is pretty. I can't hear you, DeMay.
I think you're muted.
I can't hear you. I think. Oh, wait. Try it again.
Can you hear me now? Huh?
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
What would your top 2 or 3 questions be? What would you instruct, your neighbors, your aunt, somebody like that? Hey, ask these fucking dipshits these 2 or 3 questions. See if they're legit or not.
Do you smoke meth? Do you use meth? Would be my number one question.
Okay, that would be my question as well. And then here's
Are you a master
my-
gardener?
Mhm.
How much is a
are
bag
you a
yearly?
licensed pesticide applicator?
Okay, and I've got an interesting one that weeds out the flakes. How do you get paid? Do you know why that weeds out the flakes?
Mm-hmm.
Because
How?
the flakes want to be paid in cash. Okay,
I don't know,
because if
man.
you're
I'm
not-
seeing homeless people
Crypto.
take fucking Venmo now. It's 2023 is weird. The whole sorry I have cash is now like, well, I got Venmo or I got Cash App. I'm like, oh god, man, it's got weird.
Tell me you still have a 3G phone. I'm not telling you that stuff, man. Okay. Can you tell me what your Venmo handle is in T9 word?
Morse code. I don't trust the airwaves.
I don't know. I just think that's something that we
What
should
would
do.
you ask?
I've said
DeMay?
that before.
What would you ask?
The licensed applicator thing. Who is going to be applying this material to my lawn? Is it a licensed applicator or somebody that's working under somebody else's license? And I don't know. I think it's something.
Man, it's a
when I
tough
read this
question.
article, it is a tough question. I think we should dive deeper into this at some future juncture this winter, just to help out.
Jago said,
that'd be a good
I'd
way
ask
to-
who they follow on YouTube. I'm not gonna lie.
Jesus
That
Christ.
may be the most qualifying question that you
might
can
be the
ask in
best question
modern
of-
times.
Oh,
Now we need
Lord.
so Jago teaches, right? So we need Jago to develop a rubric so that we can grade their list. So Jago, please work on that, and
Hey,
let us know what's a passing score.
Our producer, here's the J Pink for the win. He asks them, were they ever featured on Joe Knows Turf? Oh.
Hang on.
Two great qualifiers there. Who do you follow on YouTube? And have you ever been featured on Joe Knows Turf or Bo Knows Turf? Either or. Both of those are
Knows-
disqualifiers immediately. We
Or
really should
disqualifiers,
dive
yeah.
into that. I mean, because it's, I don't know why that's hard for me to answer, but it is. I will say this is that I don't think there's a whole lot of questions that I'm going to trust the answer I get. And so I'm going to do a significant amount of due diligence before I let anyone onto my fucking property. Now, I will say this is that I grew up in Memphis. I've been shot before. My level of hypervigilance and paranoia is not on par with the rest of humanity. I will gladly admit that. That being said, is that whatever anyone tells me, if I invite them to bid on doing something to my property, I am going to scrutinize them in the worst of ways. I will know all of their previous marriages. I will know several of their girlfriends that they've had in their life, where they live, how long they live there, how long they've been on time with payments at their previous property. A lot of random ass shit, I want to know what drugs they experimented with between the time they were 18 and 25. It's just, it's just what I want to know. And it's not to say that it'll disqualify them. It's just I need to know these things to build the entirety of the picture. So to narrow that down into 3 questions will be difficult, but I actually think it's a pretty good exercise in futility of actually just being a better human being in general. Thank you for that, DeMay.
Sorry.
University of Michigan is not. Oh man, I had a joke, and once I saw it was Raising Men Lawn Care, I'm not going to make that joke anymore. There's some strange shit going on in Michigan right now. That is for sure. Always strange shit. Hard work certainly has paid off for 2 West Michigan 5th graders who took on the 50-yard challenge. Curtis Lyon Welch and Aston Lyon Welch accepted the challenge by Raising Men and Women Lawn Care Services in April, aiming to mow 50 yards for free for the next 5 months. The Coldwater Boys mowed lawns for seniors, people with disabilities, veterans, and single parents around Branch County, according to Kristen Leon Welch. On Wednesday, Raising Men and Women Lawn Care Services congratulated the duo for reaching their goal, presenting the boys with certificates, 2 new fucking lawnmowers, 2 new weed whips, and 2 blowers. Lion Welch told News Channel 3. I screwed up this segment with putting an F word in it. Can you post J-Pink? Just go and throw a beep in there. All right, we got it. Raising Men and Women Lawn Care Services, 501(c), blah, blah, blah. And they do the 50-yard challenge, and that's where they invite people in to get out there and mow 50 yards for free, to pay it forward. Where's Rodney's name?
I don't see it. It should be in there. Rodney Smith.
How are they not going to put Rodney Smith's name in this? Yeah, I just did a Control F on it. There is no Rodney Smith. That's frustrating. That is absolutely frustrating. Rodney Smith absolutely just made this a phenomena of good, right? And if there's anything that we need in 2023, and especially moving forward, it's fucking good. We need a lot of good. And this guy deserves every bit of the credit and good that can be returned to him for having, one, the balls to do this, but also just the selfless nature of being able to turn this into something that it has become. Imagine how shitty that is, hustling flights all across the country to go mow something for free. Yeah. I mean, just, that sucks, man. That is hard as shit. And he did it. And is still doing it. And is still working his ass off to make this a reality. And the number of kids that are out there working their ass off that are helping bring more good into the world. That certainly, no one will argue with me that the one thing we need in the world right now is more good. No one will argue with me on that. Right?
No. Right?
Okay.
No.
Just, I was making sure. I'm like, am I overlooking something that we really need? Sheila's not the answer. Certainly it's good, right?
No.
Anyway, I'm a little disappointed that it mentioned Rodney Smith in this because he's a fucking badass and deserves
he does
all the credit. He deserves all the credit.
There will be someone out there that'll be like, actually, what the world needs is more economic opportunity for everyone involved. Equality of outcome is more important than equality of opportunity. Anyway, I digress. Okay, we're going to wrap up this episode. We're going to go let our fine patrons pick the name of this week's episode. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you're of the means, patreon.com/BonerReturn. I understand shit's expensive, and if you can't, no harm, no foul. You're not going to hurt our feelings, but if you can, we'd welcome you aboard, and I promise we will put all of that to good use. So thank you so much, everybody. We will catch y'all on Thursday.